At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Colorado Rockies. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Ron Darling joins me in just a moment. Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner a little later on as the Mets wrap up their three-game series against the Colorado Rockies and playing their first full series without their captain David Wright, who's on the disabled list with a hamstring injury. The Mets are going for the sweep of the series this afternoon. It all started on Tuesday night when speed and youth was served. First inning, Juan Lagares drives home a pair with this two-run triple up the gap in right center to give the Mets and Henry Mejia an early lead. And after the game was tied, Young in left field saves 2 runs with a diving catch. And then Eric Young on second base with 2 out of the bottom of the 8th races home on this infield hit by Juan Lagares with the go-ahead run. Mets took a 3-2 lead and held on for the victory. Then last night it was Matt Harvey day, and Harvey was at his best. Not a big strikeout night for Harvey, but he got 14 ground ball outs, including this double play. Wilmer Flores, playing just his second game in the big leagues, picked up his first hit, and then in the 8th, cleared the bases with this 3-run double to put the game away. And then it was on Harvey to try and finish up for the first time in his major league career. He got Troy Tulowitzki to pop up to end the game. A 4-hit shutout for Harvey, his first career complete game, his first career shutout, and a 5-0 Met victory. And in this series, we certainly have seen youth served for the Mets.
Well, first, congrats to Matt Harvey. You'll always remember that first complete game shutout that you throw. But when you think about this summer, what have we been talking about? Talking about Harvey, Wheeler, Mets, young starting pitcher. We haven't spent a lot of time on the Mets' young guns, and both Lagares and Flores last night with 3 RBIs in the 2 games.
On the mound today for the Mets will be Dylan G, and Dylan's been spectacular over the last 2 months.
Well, he has been, and he's even been better at home. 3 of his wins have come at home. We look at his last start, and his ERA here at Citi Field is 2.34.
Carried a shutout into the 8th inning in that last start against Kansas City, wound up with a no decision. Now, for the second time in this series, Tyler Chatwood, the scheduled starter for the Rockies, had to be scratched. He goes on the disabled list, so the Rockies bring up journeyman right-hander Jeff Manship to make the start today.
You know, he got all of his big league time in a Minnesota Twins uniform, was traded over here, and hasn't appeared as a starter in a game since 2010.
Mets last swept a series from the Rockies in 2008. Wilmer Flores hoping to be part of a sweep in his first series in the big leagues. It's the Mets and the Rockies. Early day game at Citi Field. All the action on SNY. The all-new 2014 Mitsubishi Outlander. By Elysium from the director of District 9 in theaters August 9th. By Brooklyn Burger, the premium steakhouse burger and the official burger of the New York Mets. And by Audi, truth in engineering. MLB.com at Bat is celebrating 5 years as your #1 mobile app for live baseball, available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At Bat delivers Mets baseball with live audio, stats, highlights, and more. Text at Bat to 31826 or visit Mets.com for details. Drive Around the Majors presented by the Honda Summer Clearance Event. The Braves keep rolling. Justin Upton 3 for 4, homer, 3 RBIs. The Braves win 6-3, sweep the Nats, win 13 in a row. The Tigers have won 11 straight. They now have a 6-game lead in the AL Central after Prince Fielder's 2-run double in the 14th inning gave them a 6-5 win over the Indians. And the Rangers now move into a virtual tie for first place in the American League West. Adrian Beltre a homer and 3 RBIs as they beat the Angels 10-3. Texas was 6 games back just a couple of weeks ago. Dylan G making his way in, getting ready for the start this afternoon. G and the Mets going for the sweep of the Rockies. The first pitch is coming right up. The bench day for the Rockies as they have lost 8 of their last 9, and Walt Weiss looking for a different formula today.
Well, Dylan G coming off an outstanding start in his last start. Got a no decision, but I said before the game, those Jaguar numbers, he's much better at home. 9.7 ERA overall, but 2.34, sorry, at home. Defensively behind Dillon this afternoon, the Rockies Mets defense. Young, Lagares, and Bird. Every day they're out there. Flores, of course, the big game last night. Quintanilla, Murphy, Davis on the right side. And Anthony Recker gets a start.
Walt Weiss in his first year as a big league skipper, in fact his first year as a professional manager, and it's been interesting the last couple of days. There have been a number of quotes coming from his veteran players talking about how the Rockies have slid and how they have to maintain their professionalism and avoid falling into the trap of the losing team over the last 2 months, and that's hard for a first-year manager.
Well, I think that's one of the things that you learn sometimes when you go to the minor leagues first, but a consummate professional is Walt, and well respected in that clubhouse. But you're right, 16-11 in April, and since then it's been kind of a nightmare for his crew.
Meanwhile, Terry Collins' team playing at its best, even without David Wright, even without Bobby Parnell. Mets winning the first 2 games of this series. The Mets are now 27-21 since the 18th of June, and really have turned a corner in terms of figuring out how this team is going to win down the road, which doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win anything this year, but they're heading in the right direction.
Well, I don't know about you, Gary. Just watching them every day, they've gotten a little younger. They're a little more athletic. They've got some speed. And in this ballpark and with a pitcher like Dillon Gee, that defense is invaluable.
And certainly their pitching has been good. Their bullpen has been a 180-degree turnaround from where it was early in the season. And all those things have combined to give the Mets a better chance after they fell as many as 15 games under 500 at the start of the year. Charlie Blackmon will lead things off for the Rockies. Blackmon getting his second start in the series. Hitting at .238, 2 for 5. He had a pinch hit home run on Tuesday night.
Charlie Blackmon came close last night to being the most hated man at Citi Field. The apple stuck. There it goes. With that line drive base hit off the knee of Harvey in the top of the 9th.
Delicious descending.
It's going bad. I mean, there's definitely not going to be any home runs today. I mean,
maybe just premature exhilaration. Now we're set to go as Blackmon steps in against Dillon Gee, and the first pitch of the day is outside for ball 1. By the way, Matt Harvey said this morning that his knee is just fine, no ill effects whatsoever. Put a little ice on it last night, and he said it didn't stiffen up overnight, so no reason to hold your breath. And that shot through the hole, a base hit for Charlie Blackmon, and the Rockies have the leadoff man on.
Boy, Charlie Blackmon has looked good in this series. One of the few Rockies to pinch hit home run on the first night, base hit yesterday, and here opening the game.
DJ LeMahieu has played second base throughout this series, batted 8th in the first 2 games, hitting second in the lineup today. 1 hit in 7 at bats, hitting at .265 since he was called up in the middle of May.
Flores playing a little too deep at third base. You've got to play even with the bag here with the runner on first base. You're inviting Mayhew to try to bunt for a base hit.
Blackmon with excellent speed at first base. 3 steals this year without being caught, and a line drive base hit. And the Rockies have the first 2 men on. Blackmon pulls in at second, so LeMahieu follows with a base hit. Walt Weiss running out his lineup of irregulars gets the first 2 men on.
You know, the good thing about irregulars, though, on a 12 o'clock game after a night game, that ball's middle, is that you've got youth, you've got people that have been playing, and they're ready to go.
So now Corey Dickerson, who's starting only his 12th game for the Rockies, gets the call in the 3-hole. He's 1 for 5 in this series. Dickerson started the opening game of the series Tuesday night. He's been up and down with the Rockies a couple of times this year and has been hitting much better since coming back. So Gee has first inning problems to deal with. Dillon allowed just 3 hits in 7 innings plus his last start. He's already given up 2 hits before retiring a batter today. And Dickerson up there aggressively, fouls off the fastball, 0-1. So Gee has thrown 4 pitches. The last 3 have all been swung at. Michael Kadire is the cleanup hitter. He's waiting on deck. And the curveball to Dickerson hit to right field. Should be room for Bird as he drifts back. Tagging at second is Blackman. Both runners tag. And the throw to second. LeMahieu is tagged out. Double play. LeMahieu trying to go from first to second against the arm of Marlon Byrd, and Marlon says not today.
Well, Marlon has shown all season long that he possesses not only a strong arm but an accurate arm, and that's just not a good play by the back runner. LeMahieu, all he has to do is come off first base. If he sees the throw is going to be on line, go back to the bag. Instead, he pushes it and a double play.
9-6 on the double play. Bird's 7th outfield assist of the season. And that's a big out for Dylan G in second. Instead of first and third and 1 out, it's 2 out and a runner at third for Michael Cuddyer, who takes a curveball for a strike. Cuddyer 1 for 6 in this series, 3rd in the National League in batting, hitting at .327. 3rd in on base percentage, 2nd in slugging, having his best offensive season at age 34. And G throws a fastball by him, and quickly it's 0-2. Ronnie, when you get a play like that behind you after you've given up a couple of hits, does it re-energize you, let you restart?
It really does. It's like, you know, you come out here, your goal is to really get some early and easy outs instead of a couple of hits. And that a play like that can change the whole game for you, never mind the inning.
Here's the 0-2, and the curveball tapped slowly. Murphy gets in front of it. Throws out Cuddyer, and G negotiates the opening inning with a little help from Marlon Byrd. 2 hits and 1 left for the Rockies. The Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score. Anthony Recker gets the start behind the plate, but John Buck is still here. As far as we know, his wife is still waiting. Wow. So the game plan with that has changed, because the plan was if Buck went on paternity leave while the Mets were home, they'd bring in Travis d'Arnaud, who's playing in Binghamton. With the Mets on the West Coast, that might change the plan.
Well, you see the numbers, Toyota numbers of Jeff Manship. All of his big league time with the Minnesota Twins has been in AAA all season long, where he had 24 games, 17 starts, was just 6-8.
Eric Young will lead things off for the Mets. Young has a 5-game hitting streak going, 2 for 7 in this series, and he takes a strike from Manship. Last start for Jeff Manship was May the 1st of 2010 for the Twins against the Indians. This is his 7th major league start. And the curveball fouled off, and it's 0-2.
I saw a shot of the defense. Played over to left. That makes sense. Infield, shortstop Herrera, a couple steps in because of the speed. The problem I have is how deep they are against Eric Young. I know he has a home run within this last week, but still, singles hitter.
Eric with a .353 on base percentage as a Met. Takes high from Manship. It'll be Young, Lagares, and Murphy for the Mets in the opening inning. The Rockies had to hustle Manship in here after Tyler Chatwood had to be scratched. Manship was pitching for Colorado Springs. And was not having great success for most of the year, but his last start last Friday at New Orleans, he threw 7 scoreless innings.
Yeah, so his last 5 starts, Gary, got him at 3-1 at 2.41 ERA. So he's their hottest pitcher in AAA.
17 starts, a guy they figure will come up here and throw some strikes and give them a chance. 1-2 to Young, up and away. They could have moved Jorge De La Rosa, their fine lefty, up to pitch today because he's scheduled to pitch tomorrow. Today would be his regular day. But they opted to give De La Rosa the extra day and bring Manship in. 2-2 to Young, and he slaps that one foul. And as you can see, Manship, a sinker ball pitcher, he relies on keeping the ball on the ground. Just 71 strikeouts and 104 innings in AAA this year.
I don't understand the hoodie, but
must be a chill in the dugout.
Could have been a late night. I don't know.
Juan Lagares waiting on deck. It's Matt Harvey in the hoodie observing the 24-hour rule. 8th pitch of the at bat, and the curveball up and away and a full count to Young.
When you throw a complete game shutout, the next day you can do just about whatever you want to do. You're king.
Or a dark night.
There you go.
3-2 to Eric Young, and he hits it out to left center field. Dickerson back in the gap and runs it down for the first out.
There's a defense behind Jeff Manship for the Rockies. Of course, light defense, appropriate, right? Culberson, Dickerson, and Blackman in the outfield. 2 Charlies out there. Arenado, Herrera, Mayhew, and Kadai are playing first base, and the veteran Torrealba behind the plate.
So you see 2 Charlies, I see 2 sons in a month.
That's 2 sons in a month, right? I have a younger brother, Charlie, so whenever I see that name, it brings a smile.
Here's Juan Lagares, who's 2 for 7 in this series and takes a fastball up and away. Lagares, since the All-Star break, hitting .333 with 9 extra base hits and 12 runs batted in. He has really kicked it in gear. And taking more pitches, throwing a few walks, getting more positive counts.
It's all the confidence, you know, just building and not being afraid to get to 2 strikes.
Daniel Murphy, number 3 hitter, waiting on deck. And Lagares bounces one for the second baseman. LeMahieu throws him out, 2 away. So Manship has retired the first 2. And Daniel Murphy will bat with the bases empty. We're 2 for 8 in this series. 127 hits, which is 6th in the National League.
I saw a stat today in our Elias notes that after a night game and day starts, Murph's hitting .370, so we know he's getting his sleep the night before.
Either that or he's one of those guys, and I know that you understand this,
yes,
who doesn't need much sleep.
Ball players, by general, need more sleep than the average bear, I'll tell you that. They're a 10 hours plus.
Tends to diminish as you get older, though.
Yeah.
Manship ahead of Murphy 0-2. And Daniel hits one in the air to center. Dickerson waits for it to come down, and Manship has himself a 1-2-3 opening inning in his first big league inning of the season. No score after 1. Now, during every Mets game, you can get interactive with SNY Game Day on SNY.TV, featuring pitch-by-pitch coverage, player cards, and in-depth stats. Check out SNY Game Day during every Mets game, now on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Second inning, Nolan Arenado, the rookie third baseman, will lead off against Dylan G, who worked through a couple of base hits in the opening inning. Arenado 2 for 6 in the series, hitting at .253. The Rockies began the season with Chris Nelson playing third base, but they were anxious to get Arenado to the big leagues, just 22 years old. And while he has not put up spectacular numbers, he has held his own. A good curveball by G, and it's 1-1. It's interesting how this Rockies team has turned over. Because Dylan faced the Rockies in April during that snowy series in Colorado. Fly ball hit to left, and over comes Young to put it away for the first down. Well, this is something you rarely see.
Fly ball for the last out here by Murphy. He's trotting to first. Brian Gorman, the home plate umpire, tosses the ball out right away before the ball was caught. So you have 2 baseballs in play right there.
If that ball drops, you got a problem on your hands. I've
know,
seen that happen in a minor league game
have.
where an umpire throws a second ball out and you have a huge controversy. Fortunately, that didn't happen. And I wonder, because, you know, we don't always focus on something like that. How often does that happen?
Oh, I honestly have never seen it happen. So I think for Brian Gorman, who's one of the good umpires, solid crew chief's been around forever. I think what happens sometimes in these day games, we always kind of look at the players and say, boy, they're half asleep. Sometimes the umpires can be half asleep too. So he probably always usually waits for the guy to catch it, then tosses the ball out. But he was a little premature there.
Charlie Culberson is the batter for the Rockies. Culberson, a former Giants first-round pick. Rockies got him last year when they traded Marco Scutaro to San Francisco. And a fly ball hit to left center. Over comes Lagares to call, gives way to Young, and Young catches that for the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. There's your umpiring crew. Brian Gorman, the crew chief. David Rackley, who took over for the injured Manny Gonzalez last night after Manny got hit in the jaw on Tuesday night. Larry Vanover at second, and Tony Randazzo is at third. Here's the catcher, your Torrealba. After Willian Rosario caught the first 2 games of the series. Torrealba now 35 years old in his second tour of duty with the Rockies. And he takes a strike. I was going to say about G. He faced the Rockies back in that snowy series in April. Got racked for 5 runs in 4 2/3. There are only 2 players in the Rockies lineup today who've ever faced G before. So, you know, part of that is that they've had some turnover, and part of that is that Walt Weiss is playing a bench-laden lineup today. Jonathan Herrera getting the start at shortstop, who would be next.
You can almost book him for 2 hits every day he plays against the Mets.
G ahead 0-2, and Torrealba with the defensive cut just stays alive.
Torrealba, the catcher that the Mets were interested in that 1 year, but he didn't pass the physical.
Yep. Well, they didn't quite say it that way, but that was what came out later, that they were leery of his shoulder. They had offered him a 3-year deal and then backed out at the last moment. And Torrealba wound up filing a grievance and had a bit of a chip on his shoulder playing against the Mets for a couple of years after that. One-two from G, and he smacks one to left. On comes Young. He'll have to play this one on the hop. Gets enough of it to keep it in front of him and hold Torrealba to a single. Well, young men have had thoughts about another diving catch in the same area where he made one on Tuesday night. Not this time.
Well, you know what he does? He does a nice job. Is once he realizes he's not going to be able to dive and catch it, he scoots his body and his chest over to the left to try to just get a piece of that baseball, and he did enough to keep it close enough that Torrealba stays at first with a single.
So that's the third Colorado hit, and now the number 8 batter, Jonathan Herrera. 142 at bats this year. He's hitting .282. Switch hitter. This is his better side, the left side.
You know, we were documenting before Wilmer Flores coming up, a lot of bat movement. Look at Herrera. This bat does never stops moving. Everyone has their own trigger system as far as hitting, and I think it's probably more difficult to keep the bat completely still for such a long time. That's why that bat keeps waffling back and forth.
Pitcher Manship is on deck. And Herrera hits one slowly past the mound. Murphy hurries in, makes that cross-body throw, and gets the speedy Herrera to retire the side. A hit and one left for the Rockies in the second. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the second with no score. On Sports Radio 66 and Sports Radio 101.9 FM WFAN. Take note of the game times the next 3 days in Arizona. 9:30 Eastern on Friday, 8 o'clock Saturday, 4 o'clock Sunday. You might want to write that down.
Oh, I have to write it down because I'm going to be in the studio, so I want to make sure I'm there in time.
We've been talking about this play with Daniel Murphy and the way he makes it coming in.
Well, you know what I like about it? Because he plays so deep. This is a play that makes it a little easier for him. On the run, a little toss, not even a close play at first base. And I like that athletic play by Murph.
We've seen him often on a play like that come in, stop, break down, and try and make the flip after that. But it's hard with a fast runner coming.
It is, and I mean, he makes it a bang-bang play every time, which means if he's off a little bit, he's not going to make the play. So it's a nice a play for someone to play so deep like Murph.
Marlon Byrd leading off the home second.
See Wrecker getting the mud off his spikes. Very humid here. And a lot of mud, I guess. A little bit of rain this morning.
Maybe the way they watered the field as well. Marlon Byrd is the only hitter in the Mets lineup who has ever faced Jeff Manship before. He had one plate appearance against him. a sacrifice fly. So may have been left to Marlin to provide the intelligence to the rest of the starting unit about what to expect from Manship. He misses the outside corner, 2-1.
Well, he played Colorado Springs, so they play against Las Vegas, right? So I'm sure the Wilmer Flores and others probably know Manship more than the regular players for the Mets.
It was interesting because Flores, after last night's game, talked about having faced the reliever Manny Corpus in AAA this year and how he got him out with a slider earlier in the season. He was looking for the slider, got it, hit the 3-run double in the 8th in last night's game. 2-2 to Bird, and Marlin tries to hold, but he went around. Strike 3, so Manship has his first strikeout.
Good breaking pitch here by Manship. He's a guy that's going to pitch around the corners with his fastball, wants to get you out with his breaking stuff. Here's a pitcher who pitched against the Mets in the 2006 for St. Louis that first name Jeff pitched so well. That's the kind of pitcher Manship is.
Well, here's Ike Davis trying to push toward 200 for the first time this season, as the numbers have gotten better and better since his return from the minors. And a big part of that has been the fact that he has been laying off pitches out of the strike zone and thus drawing a ton of walks. Also has 3 doubles in this series. He's been on base 14 of his last 18 plate appearances.
2 hits to the series, a single and double to left field also.
And that's what he's done lately. The power is not there right now. He's only hit 1 home run since he returned to the minors in 27 games. But you have to figure at some point, if he continues to swing at pitches in the strike zone, put the ball in play, eventually the home runs are going to come.
If his own frustration doesn't get in the way, he'll be fine.
Well, that's a good number right there, too. He has not been striking out. Bangs that one into his leg, 1-2.
It's his best number ever, right? In the major leagues, to go 19 at bats without a strikeout.
Now Jeff Manship with the 1-2, and he comes up and into Ike. Amazingly, well, maybe it's of a piece with his lack of success and bad luck against the Rockies. He's never homered against Colorado. Only team he hasn't homered against in the National League. And there's a pitch outside, full count to Ike, with Wilmer Flores waiting on deck. Of course, it was against the Rockies 2 years ago that Ike suffered that freak ankle injury that cost him the bulk of the season. Here's the 3-2. And he flicks one into center field, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Well, things are going right for Ike right now. Just reached out and touched one, and he's got the first Met hit of the day.
Now you're going to get people to say, well, you know, what kind of hit is that for a home run hitter? Listen, it's better than the swinging and flailing and striking out. A close pitch, too close to take, a pitch that he took earlier in the season. Hey, put a bat on it. Who knows what's going to happen?
Now on base 15 of his last 19 plate appearances. So he's on some kind of stretch. His average now up to 199. That's the highest it's been all season. So here's Wilmer Flores, who had his big night last night, his second night in the major leagues. Got his first big league hit his first time up, and then a 3-run double his last time up. So he took care of first hit, first run, first 3 runs batted in. And he looked a lot more comfortable in the field last night as well. Had a half a dozen plays to make at third base and handled them all well.
I think it's just impossible that first game as Anthony Recker waits on deck to not just be so full of nerve, especially opening up in New York City. But you know, the second game is where you kind of relax, and I think getting that single in his first at bat was the key for the whole night.
And there's another piece to it as well. I mean, it's hard enough to be 22 years old and make your big league debut. But he made his big league debut filling in for David Wright.
Yeah.
I mean, don't think he's not conscious of that. Trying to fill a gaping hole in the Mets lineup.
Well, maybe part of him says, you know, if David Wright wasn't here, maybe I would have been here earlier. Third base last season, second base most of the season this year in AAA.
And his ultimate position, nobody seems to really know.
Yeah.
He's a kid who keeps growing, and he kind of grew out of shortstop. And they talked all through the minor leagues about his plate discipline, and you've seen it in this at bat after falling behind 0-2.
So the people are saying that he cannot play shortstop. Is that what you're telling me, Gary?
That there's no way that he's a big league shortstop. His shortstop days are behind him. Might be able to play first, might play third, might be able to play second. Jury's still out. Ike is running the pitch outside, ball 4. So after getting ahead 0-2, Manship walks Flores, and the Mets have 2 men on. Kept working Flores away after getting ahead of him.
Well, yesterday he gave up that big hit that Flores had was on the inner part of the plate. So just trying, he stands so far away from the plate. I think that's where pitchers think they can get him out.
So Anthony Recker will bat with 2 men on. Recker making his 25th start of the season today. Mets this year have a winning record in the games that Recker has started. They're 13-11. Davis at second, Flores at first with 1 out. Recker only has 16 hits this year, but 9 of the 16 have been for extra bases, 4 doubles and 5 home runs. Batting here with 2 aboard in the second. And takes the breaking ball for a strike.
Times for me it's almost unfair to try to evaluate Anthony Recker because he plays so infrequently. But you're right, Gary. It seems that in his starts he seems to do some damage somehow, some way.
Omar Quintanilla waits on deck. Quintanilla drove in the first Met run in last night's game. Foul tip. We mentioned it briefly before when we were showing the lineups today, how geography once again might figure into a Mets roster decision. John Buck at some point is going to have to leave the team to be with his wife when she gives birth. And the thought was that that was going to happen this week while the Mets were home, and Travis d'Arnaud, who is the heir apparent, is playing in Binghamton. And the thought was that d'Arnaud would come in to replace Buck. Breaking ball, strike 3 called, and Recker's called out for the second out. But now it looks like it might go a different way if the Mets are out on the West Coast. They're more likely to call up a catcher who's working in the Pacific Coast League, either Francisco Pena or Juan Centeno, one of the 2 catchers in AAA.
Which I don't think would be a bad thing, because personally d'Arnaud's gotten off to a great start in the minor leagues. I think he needs to play every single day. And, you know, when September comes, that'll be his time.
Here's Quintanilla with 2 out and 2 on. Omar 1 for 6 in this series. And a base hit to drive and run in yesterday's game. Ably called by our kidcaster last night, Johnny G. And he rips this one to right field. Blackman going back, and he reaches up to snag it to retire the side. Blackman and arms just long enough to make the grab and take a base hit away from Quintanilla. Mets leave 2 in the bottom of the second. Ralph Kiner joins us when we come back. Let's send it out to Eamon McEnany, who's out in center field. Eamon?
All right, Gary, thank you very much. I'm joined now by Paul Lima out of Bayside, New York, and he wants to ask the booth a question about southpaws. Paul, fire away.
Thanks. Hey, guys. Mets have built a staff with a lot of powerful young arms, but they only have one lefty in Jonathan Neese. What are your thoughts about getting a veteran lefty to help the staff out? And what are your thoughts about Johan Santana's future with the organization?
Well, great question. I think that when Neese comes back, which he is on Sunday, that's going to really fill a huge void. In a perfect world,
Jeff Manship has went out to right center, and Lagares gets back there.
you'd love to have 3 great right-handed starters, 2 great left-handed starters, maybe a left-handed starter that is kind of a soft tosser, a left-handed starter who throws the ball hard. But one is enough in between all the talent that they have from the right side. Just split up those hard throwers.
I think if you have a talented enough staff, it really doesn't matter that much. I mean, it's great that they have Neese as a cornerstone of that rotation to go with Harvey and Wheeler and whoever fills the spots behind them. I think they have a lot bigger fish to fry than to find a veteran lefty. And the question about Santana, well, I think Santana's Mets career is over.
Yes.
Here's Charlie Blackmon with 1 out, and we welcome in our slugger, Ralph Kiner. Ralph, how are you?
Well, I'm all right. And the thing about what you guys are talking about, there are probably as many left-hand pitchers in baseball now at the 50-50 mark, about half and half. I know when I played, left-hand pitcher was unique. And nowadays, well, you got nothing but left-handers showing up.
That's right.
Mets had a stretch earlier this year. They had a 15-game stretch where they faced 11 left-handed starters. You would have loved that, right? Steady diet of lefties, Ralph?
You know what? I never saw many left-hand pitchers. Warren Spahn, I saw him a lot because he could pitch.
Right.
I mean, it was tough to hit, but it was more right-handed pitchers and few left-hand pitchers when I played in the 40s.
Now, Spahn, how did he try to get you out, Ralph?
Well, he tried everything, and of course he had a good fastball. I mean, his fastball was a rising fastball, and he had good control and good curveballs. He was one of the great pitchers, no doubt about it. And he started his career after the war, World War II. And he was about, I think it was 28 years old when he got to the major leagues.
And he only won 363 games.
All-time high.
More than any lefty in history. Well, you bring up an interesting question, Ralph. You know, the assumption is that, left-handers have trouble with left-handed pitching. Left-hand hitters have trouble with left-handed pitching. But if you're a right-hand hitter and you don't see a lot of lefties, is it harder to make the adjustment to face left-handed pitching when you don't see them often?
Yeah, I would much rather just hit against right-hand pitching when I played. I was a right-hand batter, so I didn't like left-hand pitchers, especially the ones that like Warren Spahn, and there was a guy with the Phillies that had great stuff, and he was more on the lawn and cut his foot and didn't pitch for a while, and that was the best thing that happened to me. I know that. I can't think of his name right now.
You know, when I was answering that the gentleman's question about the left-hander in a rotation, I think you're right. You always want just great pitchers, but it breaks up the lineup back and forth if you have a lefty in there.
Quintanilla throws out LeMahieu. Another fast inning for Dylan G as the Rockies are out 1-2-3. No score as we go to the bottom of the 3rd. we know those two?
Yes, we do.
Dylan G will lead off for the Mets in the home third inning. Now, we were talking the last half inning about Ralph's preference to face right-hand pitching, and we dug up some numbers against the toughest of left-handers, Warren Spahn. Ralph, you had 75 career at-bats against Warren Spahn. You hit .320 with 7 home runs. Didn't sound like you had that much trouble.
You should have seen my batting practice.
Arenado throws out G for the first out. Sounds like he didn't want to face you very much.
Ralph, when you were having batting practice before facing a guy like Spahn, would your team or would you have a batting practice pitcher who was left-handed to try to replicate what you were going to see later, or you just had the same guys throwing all the time?
I think the latter is true. I think I'd rather see a left-hand pitcher pitching batting practice because I want to get acclimated to the fact that the pitch was going to come from the opposite side of the batter's box.
There's Eric Young with 1 out, and he bounces one slowly foul.
Whenever the Mets used to go to Los Angeles to play the Dodgers, when I was playing, they had a bigger guy who was left-handed who would throw BP when Sid Fernandez was going to throw. So we went into town once, and Sid had grown kind of a mustache, and the batting practice pitcher had grown a mustache at the same time.
Well, you know, Sid was really a tough left-hand pitcher because of his herky jerk.
Yeah.
And he would sneak the fastball by you because it looked like it was throwing slow.
Young retired on a bullet to short for the second out. Sid had such an unusual delivery, and I don't know who said it first. It looked like he was pitching uphill.
Yeah, he was the one guy to drop and drive, but Sid he would throw that fastball. In today's game, his fastball would have been 95, but his breaking ball was about 75. So there was almost 15 to 20 miles an hour difference between his two pitches.
You know, the one thing about left-hand pitching or right-hand pitching was whether or not it was a smooth delivery or not.
See the numbers for Sid Fernandez. And Lagares sits one down to third, and so Manship has himself a very quick inning, throws 5 pitches, gets the Mets out 1-2-3. On to the fourth we go at Citi Field, and no score. with live reports from Citi Field, plus all the latest on the A-Rod drama and its effect on the Yankees on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, today at 5, only on SNY. All I know is that A-Rod showed up. They faced a team that had lost 10 in a row, and they got swept.
Last night they had lead twice and gave it up.
And Mariano allowed it in the 9th. I didn't see who wound up getting the loss in the 12th. Corey Dickerson leads off for the Rockies in the 4th inning. Hit a fly ball into a double play, and he hits this one deep to right. Bird going back, takes a look, and it's out of here. Corey Dickerson, with his 2nd home run of the year, breaks the ice, and the Rockies go up 1-0. So Dickerson getting a chance to start today, put in the 3rd spot in the lineup by Walt Weiss, and promptly takes Dylan G deep. The 18th home run G has allowed this season.
That's really been the theme of this entire game against Dylan G. Kind of a catch-22. He's had really short pitch innings where he's only allowed 5, 6, 7 pitches per inning because they've been so aggressive, especially on first pitch.
So 1-0 Colorado. Now Michael Cuddyer, and he takes ball 1.
You know, when I was playing with the Pirates, we had a pitcher that was 6'9", and his name was G-E-E. Only we called him Gee.
Diving stop by Flores, gets to his feet, and the throw off line, and Cuddyer is safe at first. Well, Flores took away a double with the dive, but Cuddyer aboard with an infield hit.
And he threw that ball right into the ground. I mean, it wasn't even close.
Yeah, it's almost like he didn't get a good grip on that baseball, Ralph.
So Cuddyer at first with nobody out, and let's check in with Eamon McEnany. Eamon?
Well, Gary, the connection between Michael Cuddyer and David Wright became pretty well known during the All-Star festivities when Wright put Cuddyer on the National League Home Run Derby team. So I had a chance this week to ask Michael Cuddyer if he remembers following David Wright's career growing up in the Norfolk region of Virginia, when he had an idea that Wright might be able to follow him into the big leagues. Cuddyer about 4 years older, and he said he never had a chance to watch him in high school or Legion because obviously he was playing himself, but he told me about a time in 2003 when he got hurt right out of the chute and had to go right back to Florida for a rehab assignment, and he had a chance to watch David play that year in the Florida State League, and they had a chance to spend some time with each other off the field. And he said that was the time when he saw David's work ethic and approach, that he thought this kid had a chance. And David that year got off to a slow start, ended up hitting 300, and then really had a breakout season in 2004. And David Wright told me that the best thing about Michael Cuddyer for him was that he showed him the work ethic. He hit with him that year in 2003, but more importantly, maybe it gave him the confidence and belief that someone really can go from the Chesapeake region of Virginia all the way to the big leagues, and it gave him that confidence and belief. And also, guys, it also brought the scouts, maybe more importantly, to that area in Virginia, because Michael Cuddyer was the first real big draft pick out of that region. And Gary, you take a look at the list of the guys that have followed: the Uptons, the Zimmermans, the Reynolds. I'm pretty sure those scouts are pretty happy they found Michael Cuddyer in Chesapeake as well.
In that 2003 season, David played at St. Lucie, and the next year he was in the big leagues.
Yeah.
G picks up his first strikeout as he fans Arenado. Now Charlie Culberson, who flied to left his first time up.
Charlie came into this ball game with a record of 0.77 as a batting average. That's kind of low.
Yeah, that's not working.
Ruin your confidence. Making just his second start for the Rockies. He shoots one foul.
One of the things about when you're playing the major leagues for the first time is getting your first base hit. I got mine against St. Louis Cardinals.
How long did it take you, Ralph?
One game. I won 1 for 4 in my first game, and I hit a home run on my third game And the home run was against Howie Paulette, good left-hand pitcher. And the other home run, the other base hit I got was off Beasley, a right-hand pitcher.
Keep hearing about these home runs against left-handers.
Yeah, that's right. Wait a minute.
Well, it was probably the only home run at the right field.
You hit your first home run to right field?
Yes. Can you believe that?
How did that happen?
I was trying to fool him.
Because you never hit the ball to right
I
field.
pulled the ball all the time. You better believe it. And I stood right on top of the plate and made them pitch me inside.
But
I know Ron wouldn't like that.
and my strength was inside, so I would have spent a lot of times rubbing up a new baseball if I had faced you, Ralph.
I was right on top of the plate.
You know who not reminds me of how you hit, but as far as being straight pull is Bautista for Toronto. That one year that he hit over 50 home runs, every home run was to left field except the last one, which he hit to right field.
You know, you can force the pitcher to pitch you a certain way if you're a good hitter. Thing is that where you stand in the batter's box would determine how the pitcher would pitch to you personally.
When Kevin Mitchell was with the Mets, he was a good hitter. When he was traded to San Francisco, or finally went to San Francisco, he got right on that plate and he almost bullied you as a pitcher. There was no place to go.
Pitch me inside,
Yeah.
Huh? All kinds of games you play with the opposition.
Here goes the runner. Throw by Recker. Tagged by Murphy. Got him. Kadire tagged out.
Well, the tag was high on the runner and the throw was high. Could have been better.
Ooh, got him right in the face.
Yeah, slapped him right on the chin, it looked like. You know, the problem with the late slide that you have here from Kadire, the later you slide, the less you can get down underneath that tag. And he slid so late, the ball just really traveled right into his face. Walt Weiss talking to Kadire right now.
2-2 to Culberson is outside, ball 3.
You know what I'm saying? If he slid earlier and to the outside of the bag and lower, then Murph cannot make that tag.
Yeah, well, when are you going to make that decision?
Yeah, that's hard.
Kind of tough.
Yep, you're right. See the slide though to the inside of the bag. That's makes it easier too.
Bird drifting over toward the line. Catches Culberson's fly ball. The inning is over, but the Rockies grab the lead on Corey Dickerson's home run. 1-0 Colorado. faces the Diamondbacks ace left-hander Patrick Corbin. Zach Wheeler matches up against Brandon McCarthy, just his second start back from the disabled list, and John Neese against the rookie Zeke Sproul, who came to Arizona in the Justin Upton trade. That'll be on Sunday as Neese makes his return to the rotation after sitting out with a shoulder injury.
So Harvey is going to pitch next in Los Angeles.
That is correct.
Wow, that'll be quite a scene for the West Coasters.
Daniel Murphy takes a strike. Well, we're looking forward already to the Matt Harvey, Yasiel Puig matchup.
You like that, huh?
It'll be fun to watch, don't you think?
Well, he's new. There's no doubt about that. I'll bet on Harvey.
You know, when Dwight Gooden was at the top of his game in '84, when we went out to Los Angeles, you know, there's so many New Yorkers out there, so many Met fans, and they just came out of the woodwork for that start. So it'll be interesting if they do that for Harvey too.
Murphy hits one up the middle, and he's got himself a leadoff hit. Goes the second Mets hit against Jeff Manship, and the Mets got the leadoff man on in the fourth. Well, the Dodgers are 16-3 since the All-Star break. The Diamondbacks had lost 6 of 8 before they just swept a 2-game series from Tampa Bay to kind of right their ship and keep themselves at least within contact of the Dodgers.
You know, it's amazing how the standings have been jockeyed around so much this year. Terrible starts and good finishes and all kinds of things taking place.
Except in the National League East, where the Braves went to the lead and have not relinquished it all year.
Yeah, don't count Georgia in.
What have they started out 13-2, and now they've won 13 straight.
And they have a 15.5 game lead.
Wow.
And if memory serves, no team has ever come from that far back to win.
Yeah.
Well, the Mets came from way back, and with the Cubs in 1969, they were 13.5.
And of course, the 51 Giants came from, I believe it was 14.5 back, 78 Yankees, about the same. But I don't think anybody's ever come from 15.5. Yeah. We'll have Dave check that, but I'm pretty certain.
I thought the 78 Yankees, 13.5, I thought was the biggest Red Sox lead.
Marlon Byrd takes a fastball strike, 1-2. Byrd struck out his first time up. Marlon's hit a little bit of a lull, just 3 for his last 23, coinciding with his quest for his 100th career home run.
78 was my first year at Yale, and let's just say as the Yankees were inching closer at the end of September, that was not a fun September with the New Yorkers at Yale. Every day.
I just remember the 4-game series they played, which they called the Boston Massacre.
Yes.
It was early September, right? And then, of course, the 1-game playoff. And everybody remembers Bucky Dent, but they don't remember with Lou Piniella in the 9th inning on a ball he never saw.
He made quite a catch, didn't he?
Well, he didn't catch it right. He one-hopped it.
It was a base hit, and he reached out blindly to his left and somehow stopped it and kept the tying run from scoring.
And Goose popped up Carl Yastrzemski to end that game.
2-2 to Byrd, and Marlon won't chase the slider. 3-2. Murphy at first and nobody out. See if he's running.
Got a pretty good lead.
Not going, and Byrd drives one down the left field line, and that is a foul ball. Just barely missed an extra base hit. That might have brought home a run.
Murphy sort of edged off at first base. Looked like he was going to run, and then decided not to, then decided to run. And the ball, foul ball.
Not going, and Bird drives a base hit into center field. Murphy trying to go first to third, and he'll make it without a throw. Let's continue to take the extra base at every opportunity. First and third and nobody out.
Well, that's another thing that I think gets lost. One here, Ralph. Good hitting by Bird. Inside out swing.
Yeah, the pitch inside, and he hits it to right center field.
You know, there's been a couple of things about the Mets that has changed. One, we talk about their runs scored have been great, but they've been going from first to third, scoring from first because of the aggressive coaching by Tuffle. All of those things are good to watch.
Here's a guy that has made a living out of walking. I've never seen a guy get so many walks when he's hitting less than 200.
Well, what it seems like, Ralph, is that early in the season he was chasing everything out of the strike zone, and so the pitchers haven't really adjusted to the reality now that he's not swinging at those pitches anymore.
Those pitchers are all alike. They'd stick up on him.
Well outside, and looked like Torrealba wanted to throw that ball, but Arenado had not gotten to third.
He tried to throw it, and he couldn't let go.
Yeah, he didn't get the good handle on it because he was going after Murph. And he had a good shot at Murph, to tell you the truth.
Ball rolled around his hand.
Murph loves to be aggressive off those bases. He doesn't realize that, you know, when you go back like that, he did the right thing. Went back in fair territory, kind of cut off the angle for Torrealba to throw.
First and third and nobody out. 2-0 count to Ike Davis, and Manship steps off. Jeff Manship pitched parts of 4 seasons with Minnesota, making his National League debut today, staked to a 1-0 lead, which is now in serious jeopardy. And Davis fouls back the fastball, 2-1.
And that was a good pitch for a left-hand batter to hit low and inside. And they couldn't get the bat on the ball.
Just a little late, huh, Ralph?
Just a bit.
Murphy at third, Bird at first, and nobody out. Wilmer Flores on deck.
Mets with a good chance to get back in this game.
And now it's 3-1 to Ike.
Well, no place really for Manship to put Davis. This, you would have to assume, has got to be a great pitch to hit.
Well, if Ike gets a base hit here, it'd be hitting 200 for the first time all year.
You see that push off by the catcher with the flip of the hand that tells the pitcher to step off to try to hold Bird at first base. But fastball away has been his pitch. And that's where they're going.
I'm going to shift out.
And there's ball 4, and Ike's on again, and the bases are loaded. Davis has now reached base 16 of his last 20 plate appearances.
Jim Wright getting the instructions from manager Walt Weiss.
They're going to get some action in the Colorado bullpen. Remember, this is Manship's first big league appearance of the season. And although he's had some recent success in the minor leagues, I'm not sure how much faith they have in his ability to maintain this.
What makes it difficult for a pitcher like Manship is that when you have the bases loaded and no outs, he's not a strikeout pitcher. So it's, you know, the best thing that could happen for him is you're trying to get a ground ball, get a double play, end up with this inning tied.
Well, the last time Flores came to bat with the bases loaded was last night in the 8th inning, and he drilled double down the left field line to drive in 3 runs. He walked his first time up today after falling behind in the count 0-2, and now he gets another crack with the bases full. Murphy at third, Bird at second, Davis at first, and nobody out. So Manship in a world of trouble, and Flores takes a first pitch curveball high.
Breaking ball that stayed high, and that's where you don't want to be. But he got away with that, and it's All cap. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, Corey Dickerson, the center fielder. Haven't seen the center fielder play much deeper than that.
Stayed with the curveball, got that one over, 1-1.
Got that one down and in the strike zone. Well, those hanging curveballs like that are really nice to hit. Nice wide stance. I like that.
1-1 to Flores. And he fouls it away. Fastball.
When you look at the outfield defense, Charlie Culberson in left field. He's got good speed. Does not have a great arm. Dickerson in center field playing so deep it's going to be really hard for him to throw anyone out. And Blackman, Charlie Blackman in right field, has the best arm of all 3 outfielders.
Yeah, the center fielder has no chance.
Must think he's playing at Coors Field. Now Manship ahead 1-2, and Flores fouls one off his leg.
But you fouled that one right off his ankle. Oh,
Knee.
right off the outside of his right knee.
Met right knees have been in jeopardy the last 24 hours. It's about the same spot that Matt Harvey got hit by a line drive last night. But when you're 22, shake it off just like that.
That's right.
Third big league game for Wilmer Flores. And a chance here with the bases full. 1-2. Reaches for it, taps it slowly. Tough play for Herrera. Makes the bare hand stop, gets it out, but a run comes home, and the Mets tie the game. Murphy comes in to score. RBI for Flores is 4th, and the Mets draw even.
Oh, this is really a lucky hit right here. It throws a bat at the ball and still hits the ball. And that gets Murphy in, and no chance at all to stop that runner.
Hey, Ralph, you remember Tim Foley, Crazy Horse?
Yes,
they
Crazy
pitch
Horse,
out and he
yeah.
throws bat at the ball and get a base hit.
Get a base hit.
That's what that reminded me of. Herrera gets him by an eyelash at first. Now the infield has to come in, second and third, and 1 out. Interesting move by Walt Weiss with Anthony Recker at the plate. And he drives one to center. In comes Dickerson after starting back, makes the catch, tagging his Bird, trying to score. The throw is well offline, backed up by Manship, but the sacrifice fly by Recker gets Bird in, and the Mets take a 2-1 lead. Well, Dickerson had all his momentum coming forward after starting back on that ball, but he just couldn't get any accuracy.
He made a terrible throw there. I mean, you can't do it much wider than that.
See, that goes back to playing so deep. If you have that much room to travel, you're not going to be able to get yourself in position to throw the ball properly. See the hustle by Manship. You got to get behind the plate and hoping for a good throw from your center fielder. And he goes over and backs up. Textbook.
So the Mets, after loading the bases, get a couple of runs on outs. And now they'll intentionally walk Quintanilla to get to the pitcher, G.
Oh, G back in this ball game.
Talking about Anthony Recker doing something positive offensively every time. Another run batted in, and not a lot with the bases loaded by the Mets, but putting the ball in play.
I want to go back to the decision by Walt Weiss. Yeah. You don't often see a manager in a second and third situation early in the game play his infield in.
Yeah, I thought that was an overly aggressive move. To me, it seems maybe he made that move because of they've been scuffling, trying to do something to stay in this ball game.
I mean, you really open up the possibility of a huge inning when you play the infield in with 2 in scoring position.
I think the only way you can do that, or it's a good play, Gary, is when you have a real power pitcher on the mound. You're down in the lineup. You know, the chance of him making square contact is not great.
So 2 runs are in, 2 out and 2 on. And Dylan G, who has 3 runs batted in this year, will try and get a run home.
Walt Weiss grew up right over the Tappan Zee Bridge in Suffern, New York, Rockland County.
He was a home run hitter in the World Series in '69.
I think you're thinking of Al Weiss.
Al Weiss, that's it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Al Weiss surprised the whole world when he got that home run.
Al Weiss grew up on Long Island.
I played with Walt Weiss. I know he was not a home run hitter.
He
But
knew
a
it too.
Great shortstop.
With that million-year-old glove he used to use.
I think it was called The Thing.
Flat as a
Thing.
pancake.
Remember when they cut the center of the glove out? And it was all bare hand.
G pops it up in foul ground. Torrealba sheds the mask, but that'll go out of play.
Was there one time I played with no gloves?
So they would cut out the leather in the pocket to make it easier to catch the ball?
Yeah,
or
the glove would fold up.
you'd have to have hands like an iron worker though to handle that.
Yeah, well, the whole thing was every team that changed the whole world when he made some of the great gloves of all time for Rollins.
Well, you were just up in Cooperstown when Deacon White was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He was a barehanded
Come
catcher.
on, who was that? He was the bare-handed catcher. I'd let the ball roll and pick it up.
That was the euchre strategy, right?
That's right.
2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to G, and he hits the curveball foul.
My favorite time was whenever I hear the stories about guys after they have the third out, they would just leave their glove on the field.
Oh, we always did.
And the opposition would
Always
use
did.
your glove.
Throw it right out there and back to the shortstop if you're a left fielder.
What happens if you're a left fielder, you're right-handed, and the left fielder replacing you is left-handed?
You know, well, then you're in trouble.
Little topper toward the middle. LeMahieu smothers it. Now the throw behind Davis, and he's trapped between third and home. Ike makes a break for it, and he's out. Arenado got the tag on him as Ike tried to scamper in. Got caught rounding third on that infield hit by Dylan G. LeMahieu with a terrific play to keep it from going into center field, and Davis winds up being tagged down for the final out.
Now Davis makes a turn and stops and then doesn't know what to do. Right here he tries to outrun.
Mets get 2 and lead 2-1. Mike Davis caught unawares.
Listen, he's getting a nice secondary lead. He's trying. He doesn't run very fast, so he's trying to make sure he gets a little head of steam. But watch Tim Tuffle down at the bottom. He is holding him up right from the start. He knew that LeMahieu had made a good play behind second base. That's what an infielder does with a guy on second. They keep it from the outfield, and after that, just executing it properly are the Rockies.
So it's an infield hit for G, 4-5 on the putout for Davis, but it looked to me as though Tuffle was waving him until he got to the bag and then held him up, and maybe a little too late for Ike to stop.
He was waving him. He did put the stop sign up in time, but I think that Ike might have put his head down because, you know, once you see the wave, probably in Ike's defense, you put your head down and start to really hustle.
But he didn't get back to the bag here.
Well,
he stopped right there, and that can't do anything when you're off the bag.
At that point, I think he thought he was a dead duck.
Ike wouldn't be great at the pickle game, I'll tell you that.
Well, he did a pretty good head fake there to try and create some space for himself.
But you know, I think a lot of credit has to go to the second baseman for the Rockies, because that's what you're supposed to do. Keep it in the infield, give your pitcher another chance. He turned it into an out.
Torrealba leading off in the fifth. Well, we've seen that throughout this series from LeMahieu. He can really play second base. Jonathan Herrera on deck, then the pitcher Manship here in the fifth. So the Mets fell behind on the Dickerson home run, but get the lead right back. 2-1 to Torrealba, who had a base hit to left field his first time up. The Rockies 1 run and 5 hits. The Mets 2 runs and 4 hits as we play in the fifth. Dylan G over his last 12 starts, 5-2, 2.53. It all started to change his last start in May at Yankee Stadium when he struck out 12, and from that point on he's been an entirely different pitcher.
Well, a couple of things I've seen from Dylan. One, he looks like he's gotten stronger and put some of the weight on that he had lost last season. That's good. That's made him a little stronger. I also think his aggressiveness has gone up a couple of notches. Not afraid of contact, not afraid of pitching to contact.
And do you think that's just regaining his confidence after the blood clot last year, and maybe in the back of his mind being conscious about not cutting loose and giving that little extra?
I think that's part of it. But we heard some talk about Mike Baxter last year recovering from hurting his shoulder. Well, I think for Dylan G, to tell you the truth, he needed to just get some strength back.
Breaking ball hit out to left. Back goes Young, and he reels it in for the out. Ralph, one thing we've seen with this Mets team over the last couple of months is more speed, better outfield defense, and in many ways it's led to better play.
Yeah, the acquisition of Bird and also Young really has helped this Mets ball club. They finally can do something on the base paths with other than base hits. They steal bases and they get that extra base on singles and extra base hits.
You know, I was talking to Rusty Staub yesterday, and he said that confirmed that there occasionally happens when you get an outfield that is so athletic and has so much speed that as a group you start to feel, you know, we're not going to let anything drop. We're going to catch everything. And that's how they've played the last month and a half.
They certainly have.
Good changeup by G, and it's 1-2 to Herrera. It's interesting watching G today. He had so many quick outs early in the game. It's almost like he never got to his signature pitch, his changeup.
They kept putting that sinking fastball in play.
Now throwing changeups to Herrera. And he gets the ground ball down to Davis. And that's the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. Now the pitcher Manship will fly out to center his first time up. Ralph, in your experience, what can that kind of youthful energy, that speed, do for a ball club that's been struggling for as long as the Mets have?
I think whenever you can take an extra base by stealing the base, you're really helping the club a lot, because you're taking different plays away from the opposition.
Well, the Mets now are putting some pressure on the other team as opposed to the other way around.
Well, we've seen it with the pitchers being more aggressive. We've seen it with the speed and the defense being more aggressive. And I think it plays into the kind of manager that Terry Collins is.
Well, the one thing about the game in this series, the extra base on the runner was a big thing.
Ralph, thanks so much for joining us today. We look forward to your next visit.
All right, I'll be back sometime.
Whenever that is.
You're coming at the end of August like I am.
That'll be the highlight. The great Ralph Kiner. He's got a home run from Corey Dickerson in the top of the fourth. Mets loaded the bases, scored a couple of runs on outs in the bottom of the fourth, and Dylan G put up a 0 after getting the lead. And so the Mets take a 2-1 lead into the bottom of the fifth, and they'll begin their third time around the batting order with Eric Young to lead off against Jeff Manship, who's making his 2013 Major League debut.
The Rockies have only scored 3 runs in this series so far.
Well, the Mets have had 9 straight games now where their starter has allowed 3 earned runs or less, so they're getting consistent starting pitching every day. And with the bullpen doing their part, they've been spectacular since the 1st of July. It's giving them a chance to win every day. Now, what the Mets can put together consistently as an offense with David Wright on the sidelines for another 3 weeks to a month, that's a bigger question. Young is 0 for 2, fly to center, line to short. And he takes a curveball for a strike. And Young, I think, thought that pitch was high. Manship has walked 3, struck out 2 in his National League debut. And Young tries to hold and did. 1-2. Tony Randazzo with the call. Jeff Manship's first start in the major league since May the 1st of 2010, more than 3 years ago. And when you get these opportunities as a journeyman player, 28 years old, you never know if it's going to be the last chance you get, and every pitch you throw becomes of such utmost importance to your career.
You know, all of these athletes, pitchers, come from the same place. He was a kid in high school that was 22-2. He went to Notre Dame. He was all everything. And this is the most difficult scrum in the world to try to get here and stay here. And it's been a tough road for Manship.
Changeup misses away, and it's 3-2. Though at Notre Dame, he roomed on the baseball team with Jeff Samardzija, who was more famous at Notre Dame for his football exploits.
He's a good guy to room with because he's not there on the weekends during the fall. Right?
Smart. Very smart. And Young takes strike 3 called. And flips the bat in frustration at that call by Brian Gorman.
You know, Eric Young doesn't say too much, but he thought there were 2 pitches in that back that could have been a ball. The high curveball and this running fastball off the plate. Let's see if it catches a bit of the front of the plate. Well, I think it's a ball, but it's close.
Third strikeout for Manship. And now Lagares is 0 for 2. A couple of ground ball outs. Well, we have not mentioned it today, but something not of great significance, but of nice symbolic importance for the Mets happened last night. The Mets had spent 88 consecutive days in 4th place. Last night they passed the Phillies and moved into 3rd. Now, at the end of the day, does that matter? No, but it's a step in the right direction.
I think it matters. I think it matters in the sense that, you know, past the Phillies. That's great. Next to Nationals.
Phillies up 1-0 early in their game with the Cubs today as Lagares drives one to right center field, cutting across his Blackman and makes the diving catch. Blackman has tremendous speed. And he outran that ball to the gap in the second half.
He's made a couple of fine plays in the game so far. Tall, lanky athlete with, like you said, Gary, great speed. I know what you're saying. I mean, Atlanta's so far ahead, but I don't think it's bad to chip off the Phillies and to chip off Washington. And
I think it's important in terms of this team looking at itself heading toward next season.
Yes.
I'm just saying in the grand scheme of 2013,
well, gotcha.
It's not going to make much of a difference. But, you know, everybody in this organization has talked about finishing strong for a couple of reasons. One, the last 4 years, the Mets have not finished strong. It's been just the opposite. Yeah. And two, you're trying to build something for the future. You're trying to get a look at guys who are going to be part of a winning formula going forward. And if you win the second half of this year, maybe it translates into success the beginning of next year.
Well, I know that you're flying out to Arizona after the game. I believe this road trip is the biggest stretch of games the Mets are going to face. Without Wright, on the road, against good ball clubs. This is going to be the toughest stretch.
Well, they'll be facing the top 2 teams in the West to begin the trip in Arizona and LA.
They can fashion a trip like they did when they went to Atlanta, Philadelphia, Chicago White Sox, and Colorado for the day. It's kind of a mirrored trip, isn't it? Because you're stopping in Minnesota for the day. Jeff Francis loosening up.
They finished that trip 7-4.
That's what you
in what was a very difficult trip when you remember all the rain delays and the extra inning games. Strike 3 called. So again, a fastball on the outside corner. Just as Young went down looking, so does Murphy. And Murphy just about as upset. 1-2-3 inning for Manship after 5, 2-1 New York. Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Sixth inning at Citi Field. Dylan G and the Mets with a 2-1 lead as they look to sweep a series from Colorado. Top of the batting order, Charlie Blackmon up for the third time. Thinks about a bunt and takes a curveball at his feet for ball one. Blackmon led off the game with a single to right and then popped up to short in the third. Jeff Manship has acquitted himself well in his first start for the Rockies, but it looks like he is done. Getting the handshake from Walt Weiss. Blackmon lifts one to center, and Lagares is right there. One out. Let's check in with the studio. Jonas Schwartz is standing by with this game break presented by your local Tri-Honda dealers. See, he had 13 strikeouts, then 14 strikeouts. Progression.
That's maybe one of the best breaking balls in the game right now.
DJ LeMahieu takes a strike. Well, more importantly for the Marlins, he's allowed no runs and one hit so far against the team with the best record in the National League. Line the other way, just past Murphy. A base hit for LeMahieu, his second of the day. So DJ LeMahieu with a one-out single. Here's today's AT&T trivia question. LaTroy Hawkins, the third 40-plus pitcher to record a save for the Mets. Who are the other two?
Well, I got one. That's obvious, right?
I got both.
The captain. You got both?
Yeah.
Okay, one's obvious.
Well, the other one might be harder for you because it happened the year you were in Washington.
Oh, okay.
Here's Corey Dickerson, who got the Rockies on the board with his second home run. That came in the fourth inning, leading off against Dylan G. And Dylan starts him off with a changeup for a strike.
Was his featured pitch a split finger?
Yes.
Okay, got him.
And his nickname was that of a Sesame Street character. And there's a pitcher who now uses that name pitching in the major leagues.
That's right. In the AL East.
That's correct.
Got it. Oh, good. I'm so happy when I get Mets trivia. Doesn't happen very often.
I'm assuming you needed no assistance with the other guy.
No. Although I'm thinking that he probably didn't have tons of opportunities because he had changed roles by then.
He was not doing most of the closing.
Yeah.
No. G's 1-1. Hit out to center. Lagares in a stride. And Dickerson retired, 2 out. LeMahieu back to first. You could win a trip for 4 to Universal Orlando Resort. Enjoy all the action and fun of Universal's 2 amazing theme parks and stay on site at the electrifying Hard Rock Hotel. Just go to sny.tv/Toyota and enter the Toyota Fan Flyaway Sweepstakes for your chance to win. Now Michael Kadire, he's 1 for 2, had an infield hit in the 4th and then was caught stealing. Rockies with 1 run and 6 hits. The Mets 2 runs and 4 hits. We're in the 6th. Kadire really the lone frontline player in the lineup today for the Rockies. Walt Weiss, after 8 losses in the last 9 games, already has Carlos Gonzalez on the disabled list. Today he sat Troy Tulowitzki, Wheelan Rosario, Todd Helton, and Dexter Fowler, representing most of his starting unit. But Kadire in there and playing first base today. Chases that slider, and it's 1-1.
These are the kinds of lineups you usually see from a team that has won 5 or 6 in a row, where you try to get all your bench players in, try to steal one.
I think, given what we've seen over the last few years from everybody in day games, I think if I were a major league manager, I would be inclined for the day game after the night game, especially the early day game after the night game, to use my entire bench.
Yeah. They're well rested. They haven't been on their feet for the last 4 or 5 days starting. Should have some energy.
I mean, and you have to know your team too. I mean, there's certain guys whose motor just never stops.
A little surprised myself personally that Marlon Byrd was in the lineup today, but he plays every day.
I remember a couple of months ago, right before Marlon got hot, and really right before the Mets got hot, we were having a conversation about that, how Mets would have to give Marlon some time off, how maybe it's time to play some younger guys in right field. That discussion ended in a hurry.
It couldn't be more wrong, as Marlon went into a great July. You know, Kadyr's batting .328, but most of it is damage. And we talked about Ralph Kiner with us. Has been against right-handed pitching. Coming into this game, batting .348 against right-handers.
Two to Kadir, and he chases a slider, strike 3. Third strikeout for Dylan G. It's taken just 70 pitches to get through 6 innings. And the Mets have a 2-1 lead. Be part of the inaugural Citi Field sleepover this Saturday. Watch the Mets road game against the Diamondbacks from the outfield grass with food and beverages, and receive a game ticket to the September 28 Mets Brewers game. To sleepover at Citi Field, visit Mets.com/sleepover. 32-year-old Canadian lefty Jeff Francis comes on in relief for the Rockies.
Well, he was one of the more dependable starters for the Rockies in 05, 06, 07 when he won 14, 13, and 17 games. Then he injured his shoulder. He has not been the same. Started 11 times for the Rockies this year, but gave up 11 home runs in only 54 innings pitched.
Had a groin injury that landed him on the disabled list, just brought back yesterday when Carlos Gonzalez went on the disabled list. So Jeff Manship did fine in his first major league start of the season. 5 innings, 2 runs, 4 hits, 3 walks, 1 intentional, 4 strikeouts, 91 pitches. But leaves trailing the game, and Francis comes in to pitch to Marlon Byrd. Bird is 1 for 2, single to center, and scored a run in the 4th when the Mets got both their runs. Mets loaded the bases on a couple of hits and a walk. A ground out and a sacrifice fly brought in the 2 runs. And Francis, who loves to pitch around the plate, falls behind 2-0.
Pitches on that first base side of the rubber. You don't see that from many left-handers. Trying to get that ball in the outside corner.
Comes inside, gets a strike, 2-1. Bird with 2 hits and 5 career at bats against Francis, who's won as many as 17 games in a season for Colorado. Throws that fastball up and away. That's about where he'll top out at 87 miles an hour. Second all-time in career victories for the Rockies. Left and went to Kansas City for 2011. Came back last year.
Jason Jennings, the pitcher that hit a home run and threw a shutout at Shea Stadium. Something crazy, right?
Major league debut. He threw a shutout and hit a home run. I mean, how can you start your big league career better?
And I think one of the more underrated pitchers on that list, and he pitched here, was Pedro Estacio. He had some good years in Colorado.
He had some good days as a Met too.
Yeah, he's underrated as a pitcher in general.
Well, he pitched on that Dodger staff with Ramon Martinez and guys like that, and was overlooked there as well. Here's a 3-2, and Bird takes inside, and he stopped the swing in time. Ball 4. So Francis comes in, gets ahead of Bird, but winds up walking him.
Let's see if Marlin went through. So strong for those wrists. He just holds that bat back.
So here's Ike Davis, who right now is proving just about impossible to get out. He's got a blue pit and a walk today. He's been on base 16 of his last 20 plate appearances.
And 2 or 3 weeks ago, he would have been batted for in this circumstance.
Well, I asked Terry Collins today about that. And there was a time this morning when the Mets weren't sure who they were going to face today, because after Chatwood got scratched, they were talking about the Rockies were about pitching Jorge De La Rosa, a left-hander. And when we saw the lineup, Ike's name was in, and that's when we found out that it was Manship. Tomorrow, the Mets are facing a tough lefty in Patrick Corbin in Arizona. And so I asked Terry, I said, you know, is Ike at the point now where you're ready to start him against the lefty? Because he hasn't started against the left-handed pitcher since the middle of May. And Terry said, no, I plan on starting Satin tomorrow. So the question, I guess, is at this point, what does Ike need to do to earn the trust to be able to be an everyday player again?
He needs to start popping the ball out of the ballpark. And you know what would go a long way? Getting a hit against the left-hander Francis. You know, when you get these opportunities, show that you can handle the lefty.
Ike is 0 for 2 in his career against Francis. And when the year began, he was the everyday cleanup hitter against lefties and righties. But when you go 2.5 months without hitting, you lose trust. And Ike is trying to gain that trust back. And it's coming in pieces.
Coming in plate discipline. That's one part of it. But, you know, he's not back. Let's face it. He's not back until he starts popping the ball out of the ballpark.
Well, that's what he's here for. He has 6 home runs this year, only 1 since returning from the minors.
You know, one of the 1,000 reasons why I would be a bad manager is that going to Arizona, I'd want to play Ike there.
Yeah, it's his hometown.
It's hometown. He also had one of his best games, or his best game as a pro there, right? He had 3 home runs in a game.
Well, the Mets are facing righties Saturday and Sunday, so.
Not exactly scientific managerial thinking there.
Well, there's something to that. Strike 3 called. Takes a cutter on the outside corner, and Davis is caught looking for the first out.
Well, Francis throws a little 3-quarter, and that catches plenty of the plate on the knees. Good pitch.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Wilmer Flores, who walked in the second, grounded to short to drive in a run in the fourth. His 4th run batted in. He's only the 2nd Met ever to drive in as many as 4 runs in his first 3 major league games. The only other guy to do it. And Arizona comes into play here because he did most of it in Arizona. Mike Jacobs. Mike, who remember his first big league game as a pinch hitter at Shea, hit a home run. And that earned him a trip to Arizona that he was not otherwise going to get. And he had one of the greatest series ever against the Diamondbacks. Flores hits one in the air to center. And Dickerson has it measured. Tagging at first is Bird, but he's not going to challenge Dickerson this time.
I was doing that game for the Washington Nationals, and I believe it was off Esteban Loaiza at Shea Stadium where Jacobs hit his first home run. 3-run shot, or
I just remember it was like the 5th inning.
Yeah,
he was the throwaway pinch hitter when you were down. Mets were way behind in the game.
Yeah.
And he was up because Mike had been a catcher, and Piazza was a little banged up, and he was up as insurance for a couple of days to make sure that Piazza was okay. And the plan was to send him back after the game and bring somebody else up to join the Mets in Arizona. But it was Pedro Martinez who encouraged Willie Randolph and Omar Minaya to keep Jacobs on the team. They'd packed his stuff up to send him back to AAA, and they put his stuff on the bus at the last moment, and he accompanied the team to Arizona, and he never got sent back.
Greatest week ever by a rookie Metropolitan.
Jacobs hit 4 home runs in his first 4 major league games. Anthony Recker has a run batted in today with a sacrifice fly. He's also struck out 0 for 1. Matt Harvey had the hoodie up earlier in the game, so he's looks like he's warmer by now. Changeup misses to Record, 2-1. Jeff Francis from the University of British Columbia against Anthony Recker from Alvernia College. I'll bet those two have never played.
That's
in any sport.
They're not in the same division, right?
I'm trying to remember what the name, but I saw in a story that the first major leaguer from Saskatchewan just made his big league debut in 20 years. The previous player from Saskatchewan was Terry Poole, who you remember.
That's right.
Well.
Absolutely. Fine outfielder for the Houston Astros most of the time.
Recker fouls back the fastball. Greatest pitcher from Canada?
That'd be Fergie, right?
Ferguson Jenkins. You bet.
I think we just had an anniversary. Walt Terrell had an amazing game in '83, I believe. He knocked in 4, hit 2 home runs, pitched a shutout, and Ferguson Jenkins is who he hit those home runs off of.
Curveball missed somewhere. 3-2. I think Walt actually has the Mets club record for most RBIs in a game for a Met rookie who drove in all of the Mets runs in the game.
Oh, really?
And that came up because Lagares had 3 the other night. And Terrell was the only Met rookie to ever have all 4 Mets RBIs in one game.
Crazy crowd. He'll be very happy to know he has that record.
3-2 to Recker. Runner goes, lined and over the second baseman's head, a base hit. Bird will go first to third. And the Mets have runners at the corners with 2 down.
Sac fly now and a hit for Anthony Recker. No chance for the second baseman Mayhew to get to that baseball.
The Saskatchewan native I mentioned was Andrew Albers, the lefty for the Twins, who made a brilliant major league debut, 8 1/3 shutout ball the other night against the Royals.
He struck out 10 and had a chance to pitch a shutout, but was taken out in the ninth.
So now runners at the corners with 2 down. Mets with a 2-1 lead. Omar Quintanilla the batter. Dylan G on deck. So what do you do if you're Walt Weiss? And Torrealba's going to step in front of the plate to deliver instructions for what to do if Record takes off in that unlikely event.
You never know.
That's true. It's baseball. Like Joaquin Andujar said, you can sum up baseball in one word. You never know. Quintanilla was intentionally walked his last time up, and G wound up getting an infield hit, only to see Davis trapped between third and home to end that inning. Now Quintanilla with first and third and 2 out, and Omar takes a strike.
Well, what this does put into play, though, if you're pitching to Quintanilla, lefty, Arenado back at third, you could have a 2-out bunt. Play you don't see very often.
If you're Quintanilla and you've got a left-hand pitcher like Francis who falls off to the third base side, are you better off bunting to third if you do that, or to try and drag it with you?
Well, you're better off kind of bringing it with you, but that's a tougher play. I think you bunted hard enough that Francis doesn't come into play.
Two and one to Omar. Well, one thing for sure, Francis is going to pitch him carefully in this spot, not minding if he walks him. And that's part of the difficulty of hitting eighth, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's a difficulty because you're going to be in a situation where 2-1, you've worked the count to a fastball count, and you're probably not going to see a fastball. Probably be another cutter or slider away from Quintanilla. But he can sit on that pitch if he wants and tries to hit it that way.
Gets the curveball and misses, and it's 3-1. And Torrealba takes another look into the dugout, wondering what they want. Torrealba points at G in the on-deck circle, looks at Walt Weiss again, and says, "What do you want?" That was funny. I don't think I've ever seen a catcher do that before. It's like, hey Skip, you got the pitcher on deck. And he got a fastball to hit and fouled it off, 3-2.
That's too good of a swing there, and too good of a pitch from Francis. That is going to make your manager Walt Weiss walk around like he's trying to let Torrealba know, come on now, let's get back to that breaking ball.
Now the first baseman Kadire will play behind Record, try and get a little fielding depth against the left-hand batter.
Defense straight up in the infield. Center field is shading towards left. Boy, they're going to try to surprise him with a fastball away. Dangerous.
Record gets set to run, 3-2 to Quintanilla, and he fouls off that fastball, the hardest pitch that Francis has thrown so far.
I'm watching Walt Weiss in the dugout. He just took off his hat. He's walking around. Now trying to hide. There it is.
Back to the curveball. 3-2, and the curveball hit in the air to center. Big part of the ballpark for Dickerson, and that retires the side. So Francis works through trouble in the bottom of the 6th. G goes back to the mound for the 7th, still with a 2-1 lead. Met pitchers besides LaTroy Hawkins to record a save at 40+.
I had Franco and Roberto Hernandez.
2005.
So proud of myself. That's like the 1 or 2 I get during the course of the year.
How about this? Who was the oldest pitcher ever to record a save?
Oldest pitcher, and I mean, I want to go to Satchel Paige, but they didn't. Oldest pitcher ever to record
49 years old in 1972.
49 in 72.
Nolan Arenado leads off in the 7th inning and takes a strike from Dylan G. Maybe superfluous to say that he was a knuckleballer.
Yeah. I mean, there's a Wood.
No, he was a starting pitcher, Wilbur.
Yeah.
Center field. Tough play for Quintanilla over the shoulder. Can't quite make it. Nice effort by Quintanilla, but Arenado has himself a pop fly single.
Boy, he almost got to it, just off to his left. Sorry, off to his right. You know, you run that pattern there where you try to get in that lane where the ball is going to fall, and just a little to his right.
So now the tying run at first and nobody out. Charlie Culberson, the batter. This pitcher that we're talking about was primarily a relief pitcher. However, once threw a no-hitter as a starter against the Yankees.
Well, I definitely don't know who it is then.
You will when I tell you.
Yeah. Who is it?
Hoyt Wilhelm.
Oh, jeez.
Culberson, it's a double play ball that Murphy gets the lead runner, and the relay not in time. They just get Arenado for the first out, and Culberson safe at first.
Well, good play here all around. I think Quintanilla did not have to throw this baseball. Probably should have held on to it. But nice play by Murph to make sure the one was not hit hard enough to turn 2.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now you have Torrealba, who's singled and flied out 1 for 2. By the way, we were asking the question earlier in wake of the fact that the Braves now have a 15.5 game lead. What was the largest deficit ever overcome to win a league or a division? And the answer is that if anybody else other than the Braves win the National League East, it'll be a record. Fly ball hit to left, and Young overtoward the line and puts it away in fair territory for the second out. The record is the 1978 Yankees. They were 14 games behind. The 51 Giants were 13 out on August 11th, so right about this time of year.
Wow.
The Yankees' biggest deficit in '78 was in the middle of July. So it doesn't necessarily mean the Braves are home free. It just means that if they're not, it would be a collapse of beyond historic proportions. Now,
sounds like you're wishing it so.
Well, we're talking about a team that suffered through a major collapse just 2 years ago.
And a team that, other than these book-ended 13-2 starts and the 13-game winning streak, played 500 baseball between them.
But isn't that really, when you think about it, the kind of team the Braves are?
Yeah.
Because they're such an all-or-nothing offensive team.
You could shut them out, and they could beat you 11-0 the next day.
And you know, I'll give them credit because they've varied their offense a little more recently during this winning streak, and having Chris Johnson leading the league in hitting has certainly helped. But at the end of the day, they're a home run hitting team. And so it makes you wonder how they will fare when they get to October, because teams that are too reliant on the home run often suffer in October. The runner goes, the throw by Recker skips into center field. Culberson will stay put as Lagares came in quickly to back it up. Charlie Culberson with his first stolen base.
Maybe Mets fell asleep here because you have to keep Culberson close, and he easily stole this base. Big, huge stolen base. See that lead? It's kind of funny. They have that 45-degree angle that they kind of open that right leg to get that quick start.
So now the tying run in scoring position with 2 out. for Culberson, his first major league stolen base. Jonathan Herrera, the batter, with 2 out, and he gets jammed and fouls it off. 1-1. Todd Helton has come out on deck to pinch hit if Herrera can keep the inning going. Helton, one of the many Rockies starters held out of the lineup today by Walt Weiss. One and one to Herrera. Changeup misses, but we talked earlier about how Dylan has turned his season around, and the key to that, well, it's been the way he has used his changeup.
Well, I think for a period of time he really fell in love with his slider and breaking ball, which are good pitches, but his changeup has always been his strength. And
you see it there.
Early on, I thought that he didn't use his fastball enough and he threw too many changeups, so the hitters started to time it.
And the changeup was off.
Yes, it was.
And now it's down again.
Well, he's made the adjustment, a great adjustment, with the help of Dan Worthington, and now has that downward movement on it.
2-2 to Herrera with the tying run at second and 2 out. Recker sets up inside and he jams him again. Little pop fly into center for Lagares, and that retires the side. Strong work by Dylan G to keep the Mets in the lead. 7th inning stretch, 2-1 New York. From center field to left field. Dexter Fowler comes in the game in center field. He'll bat ninth, and the new pitcher, lefty Josh Outman, perfect name for a pitcher, will hit number 6 in the order.
When Chris Volstad, the former Miami Marlin, was outrighted to Colorado Springs, Josh Outman came up and he's been outstanding in 40 games.
Outman, who was originally drafted by the Phillies, had parts of 3 years with Oakland and now in his 2nd year with the Rockies. Tomorrow night the Mets open their 11-game road trip in Arizona with Jeremy Hefner on the mound against Patrick Corbin, who's having a wonderful year for Arizona. Our coverage begins tomorrow night right here on SNY at 8:30 p.m. Dylan G will get his 3rd turn at bat as the Mets come up in the bottom of the 7th, leading 2-1. G had an infield single in the 4th inning. Like the Sox on Outman.
Oh,
G trying to bunt his way on and fouls it off.
that was more miles per hour on a bunt attempt ever. There's the Sox by Josh Outman. Are those the real socks, or are those the ones that are painted on?
I'm trying to figure that out as you ask the question. Yes, those are actual stirrups.
Yes, you can see the little space there.
Shades of Jamie Moyer. Lefty wearing stirrups. And he gets ahead on G. 0-2. Eric Young on deck, then Juan Lagares for the Mets. Outman's in his 41st game for the Rockies this year. And he strikes out G on 3 pitches for the first down in the home 7.
You know, we've talked a lot about, well, you mentioned, Gary, that the bullpen has turned it around 180 degrees. That has coincided with the Mets starting pitchers trying to go deeper into games.
Well, it always helps when you have Harvey last night go 9, and now you have G, who's going to go out there for the 8th. So, you know, rather than getting into your bullpen in the 6th inning, you're getting into the bullpen in the 8th and 9th inning.
And it's also, Gary, once you pass a certain stage, you're also taking some guys out of play, so they get a day to, like, mentally just relax a little bit, as opposed to be on every day.
Well, especially right now with Bobby Parnell on the disabled list. You've got guys already pitching in spots they're not accustomed to, as Young flies one out to right field, and Blackman's right there for the 2nd out. So Troy Hawkins came in, got his first save of the season night before last.
89th career.
And now he's had a day of rest with a chance maybe for another save opportunity today. Here's Juan Lagares, is 0 for 3, grounded out twice and lined out to right. Mets with 2 runs and 5 hits. They got both their runs in the 4th. They loaded the bases with nobody out. Got productive outs from Flores and Recker to drive in a run apiece. And that's been enough so far, as the Mets are looking to sweep the Rockies in a series for the first time since 2008.
And this is after the Rockies have come in and won 8 in a row here, right? The last couple of seasons.
Yep. Little tapper, tough play off the mound comes Outman, and Lagares is safe. Nothing Outman could do, and Lagares has himself another infield hit.
What does Keith say? 1 a day keeps the doctor away, and that's what Lagares gets here with that infield single. 2 in this series for Juan.
And the 1 on Tuesday night won a ball game, thanks to the legs of Eric Young. Now Daniel Murphy is 1 for 3, singled and scored in the 4th inning. That's if they can win today, would finish off a winning road trip, a winning homestand. It would be 4-2, which doesn't sound like much, but the way the Mets have struggled at home this year, that would be something. Mets came into this homestand 9 games under 500 this season in their home ballpark.
That's always the goal when you've gotten off to a tough start like the Mets did in April and May, is get to 500, get back there, and then you're talking making a move.
And if you're going to be 500, it sure helps to win at home. Mets have been right around 500 on the road this year. Not so much at Citi Field.
They've had more offense on the road for whatever reason. Coming into the series, I believe, against Kansas City, before that game, the Mets have been hitting 222, I think, with runners in scoring position at home.
Murphy pops one up in foul ground. That'll head toward the seats and out of play. The Mets are averaging almost a run less per game at home than on the road, which is stunning. I mean, you figure that with the Rockies, right? Because Coors Field is such a substantial offensive park, and sure enough, they average almost a run and a half more at home than on the road. And Citi Field may depress run scoring, but I don't think it depresses it to the tune of a run per game. Josh Outman, the 3rd Colorado pitcher of the day. Jeff Manship went 5, allowed 2 runs, 4 hits. Jeff Francis got in and out of trouble in the 6th. I've been keeping tabs on Lagares, who has 3 stolen bases in 5 tries. There goes Lagares. And no chance for Torrealba, and the ball trickles away, and Lagares will go to third. Well, Torrealba never should have thrown that ball. Lagares got an enormous jump. And even with a perfect throw, he wouldn't have had a chance.
Well, he went on first move, which got him that big jump. And I think because of the pitch was up, Torrealba thought he could make up the distance. But a good try by Herrera, nothing he could do. But once it was deflected off his glove, E2, nice reaction by Lagares to get to third base. Really? Really? Great, there's the jump.
Fourth stolen base for Lagares. He goes to third on the error by Torrealba. 2-2 the count to Murphy with 2 out. And Murphy grounds one on the right side. LeMahieu handles the hop. And that retires the side. On to the 8th we go. Dylan G heads back to the mound with a 2-1 lead. For Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Dylan G, 7 strong innings. He's allowed 1 run. That came on a home run by Corey Dickerson. He has not walked a batter. It's becoming the norm for Mets starters.
You know, he might have his best differential in strikes to balls. 59 strikes, 20 balls. That's the best I've seen from Dylan some time.
Dexter Fowler came in the game in the double switch last half inning. He's up for the first time, and Fowler, the switch hitter, takes a strike. Matt Belisle is up in the Colorado bullpen. And Fowler pops one up. Quintanilla with the angle, Young coming in, and Young calling. 1 out. You can see how Eric Young Jr. would have been a heck of a wide receiver had he decided to go to Villanova and take that scholarship.
Oh, that looked like he was coming in on a punt, right? Return to punt.
Probably would have been pretty good at that, too. Here's Charlie Blackmon, who's 1 for 3 today, led off the game with a base hit. Well, Eric tells the story about when he was deciding between signing with the Rockies or going to Villanova on that football scholarship. And he said his dad was playing for the Brewers at the time, and the Brewers were at Shea Stadium. And he said, I went to the ballpark, I sat with my dad for an hour or 2, we talked it over, we made the decision I was going to play baseball. So he said Shea Stadium launched my baseball career.
Wow. So fond memories of Flushing.
Hit sharply. Murphy gets in front of it. Nicely done by Murph. 2 down. Let's check in with the studio. Jonas Schwartz is standing by for another game break presented by Nissan. Darren Ruff now playing every day in right field with Michael Young playing first base for the Phillies. David Arnsma, Scott Rice up in the Mets bullpen. You see Guy Conti there. He's filling in as the Mets bullpen coach. Our condolences to Mets bullpen coach Ricky Bonas and his family. Ricky's mom passed away in Miami, and so he's away from the team for a couple of days. And Guy, who used to have that role and is now working as a roving instructor in the Mets system, filling in. It's always good to see Guy. Who Pedro Martinez always credited with spearheading his career when Guy coached him in the Dodgers farm system.
Guy's like the dean of the New York Mets, isn't he?
Big cut by LeMahieu, and it's 2-1. DJ LeMahieu 2 for 3 today and continues to show off his glove at second base. And he lines another base hit. Third hit of the day for DJ LeMahieu, and the Rockies have the tying run at first with 2 out. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Hyundai. See how Hyundai dominates the competition during the Hyundai Smackdown sales event. By Bob's Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. And by AT&T, rethink possible. Terry Collins on his way to the mound. Dylan G has gone 7 2/3. He's carrying a 2-1 lead, and rather than stay with him too long, they'll bring in Scott Rice to face the left-hand hitter. Another superb outing today for Dylan G. Call to the bullpen is brought to you by Verizon Wireless. 2-1 Mets in the 8th as Scott Rice makes his way in. Leaves with a 2-1 lead. Scott Rice comes in relief.
You want to be a big league manager, you have to make these kind of decisions. G was outstanding, gave up a home run to Dickerson earlier in this game. So do you go and get him and bring Rice in to face Dickerson? The problem is Tulowitzki's on the bench and he's up at the plate.
Rice pitching for the first time in this series after working in all 3 games against Kansas City over the weekend. Tulowitzki, the pinch hitter, with the tying run at first and 2 out. Tulowitzki 1 for 3 as a pinch hitter this year. He's gone 0 for 8 in this series so far. You look at the great numbers this year, but he has not looked good swinging the bat in this series.
He's been off balance, you know, and it's easier to look off balance against Matt Harvey last night, who had his good stuff, but still, he's been a little jumpy up there.
Remember, he missed a month with a fractured rib and really has not come fully back from that yet. And Rice falls behind him 2-0.
That being said, when you see great players, you just expect them at some point to break out, and you just don't. This is not the matchup you'd like, I'll tell you that.
Well, we know this is a favorite stopping off point for Mr. Tulowitzki. See what he's done after a 2-0 count this year. And a tremendous start to his year before he got hurt. Rice behind him now 2-0. And he lays off. And now it's 3-0. Dangerous spot here for Rice. Tulowitzki capable of turning this game around with one swing. If he gets on, Michael Kadire is next. And that's ball 4. And now the tying and go-ahead runs are on base. So Rice comes in, throws 4 pitches, walks Tulowitzki, and that'll be the sum total of his work today. With Kadire coming up next, David Ardsma will come into the game.
None of those pitches remotely close.
So Rice will exit. Ardsma will replace him with 2 out and 2 on in the 8th. We'll be right back. Now asked to get 1 big out in the 8th.
Well, it's a redeemer game here for Ardsma. Friday night blew the save. Saturday gave up the home run. And here, positive note, inherited runner stranded, 9-9.
And the other positive note, this is the matchup Terry Collins wanted. Michael Kadire is 0 for 7 against David Ardsma. So now with LeMahieu, the tying run at second, Tulowitzki, the potential go-ahead run at first and 2 out. Ardsma comes in to face Kadire, who's 1 for 3. And takes a slider outside for ball 1. Well, Rice did not come close with any of his 4 pitches, and Ardsma misses badly with his first. This is Ardsma's first outing since Saturday, so he's had 4 days off in between appearances. And now falls behind 2-0. So the bullpen has thrown 6 pitches and missed with all of them.
Just the opposite of what you saw all afternoon from Dylan G. Aggressive, throwing strikes. Not the same here with the relievers so far.
Took G just 87 pitches to get through 7 2/3. Didn't walk about her. Now Ardsma behind 2-0 on Kadire. And the breaking ball hit out to left. Room for Young. Side retired. So Ardsma gets the out. That sends us to the bottom of the 8th. Mets looking for insurance, leading 2-1. Base. Charlie Blackmon moves from right field to left field. Michael Kadire moves from first base to right field. And the new pitcher for the Rockies is the veteran right-hander Matt Belisle.
Started out with Cincinnati, now has pitched in over 300 games now as a Colorado Rocky, the veteran right-hander.
If you're keeping a scorecard, Helton will bat 6th, so he'll be due up 2nd in the 9th inning. And the pitcher goes in the 3-hole. Marlon Byrd will lead off in the home 8th inning. Byrd homered off Belisle in Colorado when the Mets played that makeup game back in June. And that put the Mets over the top for their first victory against the Rockies this year. And he hits another long drive deep to left field. Back goes Blackmon. He's got room on the warning track. 1 long out. So Byrd trying to repeat history against Belisle. Came up a little short. So now Ike Davis will bat. Ike is 1 for 2 and a walk today. Rockies have gotten 2 shaky but scoreless innings out of their bullpen to stay within a run in this game. So Troy Hawkins, who got the save in the opening game of this series, getting ready to try for another one. Hawkins came into a 1-run game on Tuesday night, gave up a couple of hits, but held on for the win. And Ike takes a fastball strike, 1-1. Mets box score presented by Audi. Both runs coming on RBI outs. Flores an RBI ground out. Recker a sacrifice fly, and so far that's been enough. As Belisle gets ahead on Davis, 1-2. Rockies 1 run and 8 hits. The Mets 2 runs and 6 hits.
Breaking ball by Belisle. Back door. Ike does not think that's a strike, but on the overhead looks like it catches a piece of the plate.
Comes up high with a fastball, 2-2. Wilmer Flores the on deck batter. Davis with a late swing foul that sizzled into the seats behind the third base dugout.
Boy, that's the always scare me, those late swings. Here's LaTroy Hawkins.
Strike 3 called. Davis caught looking. Fastball on the outside corner. And he goes away disappointed again.
That's a pitch that's been called a strike all afternoon. Brian Gorman has been giving the pitchers the benefit of the doubt. On the overhead, does it catch a piece?
Eric Young got called out on that pitch in the 5th. Daniel Murphy got called out on that pitch in the 5th. And Ike's now been called out on it as well. Wilmer Flores with 2 out and nobody on. Flores drove in a run with a ground down in the 4th. He's also walked and flied out 0 for 2. Looking ahead to the top of the 9th, the Rockies will have Nolan Arenado, Todd Helton, and Yorvit Torrealba due up against LaTroy Hawkins. The Rockies have lost 8 of 9. And Walt Weiss has tried everything today to change that. Flores hits it right back to Belisle, who has himself a 1-2-3 inning. And now Hawkins will take over for the 9th, looking for the save to try and get the Mets the sweep of the Rockies. Third base, he'll bat 9th, and LaTroy Hawkins looks for his 2nd save of the season and this series.
Caesar's Atlantic City numbers outstanding for the Hawk, but looking for his 90th save of his career.
Worked around trouble on Tuesday night to get his 1st save of the season with Bobby Parnell on the disabled list. They'll face Nolan Arenado, Todd Helton, and Yorvit Torrealba, the 3 scheduled hitters for the Rockies in the 9th. The Rockies have scored just 3 runs in this series. 2 on Tuesday night. They got shut out last night, and they've managed just a Corey Dickerson home run in the game today. Arenado is 1 for 3, hit a pop fly just beyond Quintanilla's reach into center field in the 7th. Dylan G went 7 2/3, allowed a run on 8 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts. David Arnsman got the final out in the 8th, and Al Hawkins trying to do the job in the 9th. His first pitch to Arenado is on the outside corner, a strike, 0-1.
Here's a veteran who's been watching the game all day long. Where does Hawkins go first pitch? Outside corner.
Helton getting ready for his first at bat of the day on deck. Arenado had a base hit against Hawkins on Tuesday night. And he takes one the other way foul, and it's 0-2. In that game on Tuesday, Hawkins retired the first two hitters, and then Arenado singled up the middle, LeMahieu singled to right, and Hawkins had to hang on by his fingertips as Ravid Torrealba hit a soft liner that Ike Davis dove for, caught to end the game. Now the 0-2. Hit out to right center field. Lagares got a good break as always, and he's there to make the grab one away. His reaction off the crack of the bat is really fun to watch. It's hard to see on TV because you can't see the hitter and fielder at the same time, but from our angle, you just see him move almost before the crack of the bat. Geico Sports Night tonight at 10:30. We'll look ahead to the Mets' 11-game road trip and check out the football and hockey news as well. Geico Sports Night tonight at 10:30 on SNY. So here is Helton, who started the first two games of the series, went 1 for 7. And he takes the pitch high from Hawkins. Helton 1 for 6 in his career against LaTroy Hawkins. That one was a home run. Ravid Torrealba on deck. That home run against Hawkins for Helton came in August of 2004. So much has changed in the last 9 years.
Wow.
Then Helton was a 30-year-old superstar, and Hawkins was a 31-year-old relief pitcher. 2 balls and a strike to Helton.
We talked about Hoyt Wilhelm before. Hawk's got to go 9 more years.
Could be. He's in pretty good shape. 2-1, and Helton foul tips the fastball, and it's 2-2.
Fastball running away, foul tipped and glove. We saw Harvey yesterday come inside after being away. Do you chance that though in a 2-1 game? That's the call for Hawkins.
Recker stays away. Tapper to third. Turner just in the game. Throws out Helton, 2 out. So Hawkins has set down the first 2 in the 9th. And Ravid Torrealba, as he was in the game on Tuesday, is the final hope against Hawkins in the 9th inning. Torrealba today is 1 for 3, single to left back in the 2nd. The Mets have not swept a 3-game series at home this season. Last time the Mets swept a series of 3 or more games at home was last September against the Marlins. Taken high by Torrealba. They swept a 2-game series from the Yankees here, and of course they also swept the 2 at Yankee Stadium. Quick pitch from Hawkins, and Torrealba takes the fastball at 94. Hawkins throwing his fastball like a closer.
Key for Torrealba. He is a middle of the plate in hitter. He likes the ball up in the strike zone. Down and away, and you're fine.
Now the 1-1. And Torrealba hits it slowly. Hawkins has got it. He'll take it himself, and the ball game is over. LaTroy Hawkins pitches a 1-2-3 9th, and the Mets complete the sweep of the Rockies. Their first 3-game series sweep at home in 2013 as the Mets win it 2-1.
Just outstanding pitching from the Mets in this series. Just enough offense and hustle from the Mets offense, and Terry Collins has got himself his first sweep at home this year before a huge road trip.
Dylan G evens his record at 8-8, lowers his ERA to 3.82 as he continues his fine run of pitching over the last 2.5 months. And the Mets finish off a winning homestand and start a long road trip on a very positive winning note, sweeping their first series with their captain on the disabled list. There is your game summary as Dylan G went 7 2/3, allowed just a run on 8 hits, no walks, and 3 strikeouts. The Mets get a couple of runs after loading the bases in the 4th inning, and that's enough to bring them to a 2-1 win and a sweep of the 3-game series. For every Mets win, the Mets Foundation is proud to contribute $2,500 to the Katz Women's Hospital and the Katz Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northshorelij.com/KIWH. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $130,000. The Mets are victorious. A 2-1 win over the Rockies to sweep the series. We'll have more from Citi Field in just a moment.